Hey everyone, I'm Nathan, and today I'm doing a Critical Role speed draw. So if you don't know, Critical Role is an amazing live-action Dungeons & Dragons show that premieres every single Thursday night on Twitch, except for the last Thursday of every month. Anywho, I love this show so much. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I love D&D, I'm a dungeon master, and I love being able to spy in on someone else's game every single week. The story is immaculate, and all of the people who play in the game are professional voice actors who voiced many of the voices of our childhood. I won't get into all of it, look them up. It's wild, some of the voices that these people have played. Obviously, there are going to be spoilers ahead, so if you're not caught up on Campaign 3 of Critical Role, I suggest you click off, and if you are okay with being spoiled, I guess stay tuned, because they're about to come. So we've just been through a very big emotional journey. Campaign 3 of Critical Role centers around a team of misfits called Bell's Hells, and they're an adventuring party that is currently investigating for their patron Esteros. They're really cool. They all have intricate backstories that pop up in their adventures that they have to grapple with their own inner demons and unresolved conflicts of their past. So Laudna is the designated fan favorite and the subject of this piece. She is the spooky queen, we stand, with a horribly tragic backstory that I won't get into now. If you know, you know. Bell's Hells just went toe-to-toe with a villain that they did not prepare correctly for. There were some hiccups in combat, and 3 of the party members went down, dead. And their cleric was only able to revive one person, who in return was only able to revive one other person. So 2 lived, but sadly Laudna died. But fret not, because Laudna has already come back from the dead once. So she's undead, and since she's come back from the dead before, the entire team decides to travel to her hometown where she was horrifically murdered and try to bring her back to life. They end up parlaying with the Lord and Lady of Whitestone, Percival and Vexalia de Rollo, which, yes, as we all know, are main characters from Campaign 1. If you've never watched Critical Role at all, I actually think one of the best ways of starting is with the animated series that's on Amazon Prime right now. If you go watch that, you'll get a real clear understanding of the show. And I highly advise you do, because for most of this video, I'm just going to be talking about hyper-specific things, thoughts, and opinions I have about this show. And I will not be explaining myself because I'm just gonna assume you understand what I'm talking about. But if you don't understand what I'm talking about, just look at the pretty colors. Look at the illustration. Ooh, so nice. Yes. There's something for everyone here. I don't think I have much more to say on the subject, so without further ado, let's get into the video. In 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so my initial concept for this image was actually something very different than what I ended up with. Originally, I wanted it to be more evening, that way I could get Ruidus in the background, and I was imagining it being much more foggy and cloudy. But then I was rewatching the episode again, and Matt had this really beautiful description about how it was like early in the morning, and how the leaves were fall colored, like they were beautiful oranges and golds. But Matt described the sky as a grayish blue, and that detail just kind of stuck out to me. So you see way farther down the line, I end up changing the sky to more very gray sky. I also used a different technique than I normally do. Normally I do my line art first and then I color behind it, like cell shading. But this one I wanted to do an additive style just because there were so many characters and so many colors. I was like, I just really want to blot everyone in there. So these large horizontal stripes of color you see in the background will eventually become all of the houses that make up Whitestone. And then I have these mountains in the background, and then the de Rollo Castle and the clock tower just kind of overlooking everyone. And I end up getting rid of the very far mountains and redoing them just so all of these lines that you see in the image keep going towards Laudna. I really wanted to make sure that this composition was about her. And her design actually also made this kind of very easy because there's just so much contrast, like because she has such dark hair and such a pale, deathly face. Oh, and see, here they go. Horizontal stripes, they're becoming all of the houses that make up Whitestone. I'm going back in and I'm just adding all of those wood beams that are, I think, what makes medieval art kind of famous. Like, you know, when something's a period piece, when there's just a bunch of random wood in these like weird, vaguely European-centric designs. So I'm just adding all the woods. I'm getting the roofs carved out. I did look at a lot of the art that was made for the animated TV show. They were really inspired by this concept of the people of Whitestone came over on these great ships, and so bow of the ship was a big part of their architecture. I didn't lean too heavily into that, but I think it is there. Like, I did take certain aspects of that in the middle house and then in the arches above the windows. Flash warning as well. As always, I use a ton of adjustment layers every single time I do a painting, so you have been warned. If you have photo sensitivity or anything like that, just be kind of careful. This part's fun because I'm just adding more and more details. One of the fun things about challenging myself to do more of a digital painting in this style was all of the rich textures that were suddenly available to me. So I really leaned into that for the roofing, and then later you'll see me doing that for the mountains and then also the clothing. Because normally I really do like a Saturday morning cartoon aesthetic. Like, I enjoy my characters to be very flat, almost like they're a sticker that's just kind of pasted on top of everything. But here I wanted to kind of push myself outside of my comfort zone a little bit and really just make something beautiful. Here you can see I'm starting to work on all the background characters. For Fern, she was really fun to do. I don't know if this is actually true to canon, but isn't Fern the tallest member of the group? 6 feet tall, like 6 foot plus or something like that? I'm not sure. But I made her very tall, and in fact I made her so tall I ended up stretching all of the houses upwards. Right now the viewer, like the point of view of this illustration, is we are looking up at Laudna and therefore at all the characters. So to really make that come across, I raised all of the houses just so it didn't feel like we were in a dollhouse village or something. For all of the characters, I end up simplifying them a lot, mainly because I felt like if I gave Fern all of her bips and bobbles, it would just draw too much attention away from the foreground. I just did a couple of the poisonous flowers that she's known for and fungi and didn't go completely ham. Aurum was really fun to work on. Aurum, okay, so obviously I am a gay, yes, hello, and Aurum is my favorite, and I feel like a lot of people were just completely fine with him dying, and I was so upset. Like, you guys, okay, we just have to get into it. When it happened, the moment when Fern and Aurum and Laudna were all down, I was, from the get-go, revive Aurum. Because we still don't know when Ashley flipped the coin or when Fern flipped the coin if it actually chose Aurum or if our mischievous satyr woman just decided to save her best friend. Because Aurum is her best friend. Like, in Exandria Unlimited, they've been traveling with each other for, like, that campaign, even though it was a mini-series, lasted for months. Like, they've been traveling with each other for such a long time, and they really are a very close family. My heart was completely shattered because Laudna is my absolute favorite as well. There's such a sharp juxtaposition between how kind and how loving and silly she is and how everyone sees her as this grotesque monster. Like, that's just very interesting, and she has such a nice gothic aesthetic. Of course I adore Laudna, but Aurum is just my special little guy, and he's like the only confirmed LGBT person on the series, and if Critical Role was gonna bury the gays so soon, I was just gonna be livid, especially because with Caleb, we never got an exploration during campaign 2 of Critical Role about how Caleb was polyamorous and was in a relationship with these 2 students when he was at school. We know all of that stuff from backstory and from Talks Machina, but we never actually got to see it. The point about representation is actually being able to see the story, actually being able to experience it, and just having Aurum there being very sweet, being very gay, like saying, oh no, I am only attracted to guys, and talking about his husband. It's just so emotional, and I want him so badly. Like, I want to see him grow. I want to see him change. I want to, like, dive into his backstory. I just want him to find justice, honestly. It was way too soon for him to go. So I am glad that Fern chose to bring Aurum back. And as the whole cast said, and even Marisha said this, the smart choice was to choose Aurum because Laudna isn't normal. She had already died and come back. And if Laudna had never died, we would have not gotten all of this Whitestone arc, which has been so short but so sweet. Like, it was just so enjoyable. I really want to tip my hat off to Matt. I think he did an excellent job pacing everything out. I just loved the way that Matt set up the whole thing from a DM perspective, like having the encounter with, oh, look at how fire is not very effective in this very stone environment. That way, when we moved into the environment with the big tree and it suddenly was a wooded environment, that was that hint about, oh, fire is super effective here. As a dungeon master, I love being able to give my players a challenge with little hints about how to solve the problems in front of them. And it was just so rewarding as a viewer watching Ashley's face when she realized using fire on the tree was super effective and how it hurt Delilah even more. Oh my gosh, like I can only imagine how great that must have felt to be her in that moment. and to have that big victory. So yeah, super iconic. Loved seeing the flashbacks of little Laudna. It was so enjoyable. And then the next episode, when we think, oh, it's just gonna be Laudna's alive, when we have to do the resurrection and the ritual. Like, it was just so beautiful. You'll see that I included with Orem, I gave him little poppies around his hand because he made the poppy flower crown for Laudna. And it was just so sweet, everybody loving their friend and wanting to bring her back, and it was just so emotional. So in the scene that I'm depicting here, it's taking place after Laudna has been resurrected, and I'm imagining this is also after she has her new form of dread. So she goes up to the sun tree and she touches it, and she remembers, like, this is the place where I died, and she turns into like this weird, twisted, scary tree. So in my image, I don't have the flower crown on her head at this time because I imagine it fell off after the transformation, even though later on in the episode they talk about the flowers coming out when she brings Pate to life for real. So that's why I didn't depict her with the flower crown in my image. I do have Imogen like on her side because Marisha and Laura had such a cute little back and forth, and how Laudna was like, please stay by my side, stay really close. And it was a lot of fun to make choices with how I was going to depict the Derolos. So it was really weird. So I based it off of the portrait that I think is inside Tal'Dorei Reborn, the new book, but there's a picture of both Percy and Vex'ahlia in it. And so that's loosely what I pretty much based their outfits off of. Even though I know that Vex'ahlia was like wearing armor, it just felt weird to do the outfit from the animated series because so much time has passed. It was like I really wanted to show that age. So that's why I gave her some gray hair. Her face is a little more hollow, so her cheekbones are a bit more pronounced. And then with Percy, it doesn't help that he has white hair, so that just ages him up naturally, but I really gave him that beard. He looks like the dad from Full Metal Alchemist, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. Let him be kind of a dilf. And so yeah, I do a lot of like embellishments and embroideries on both their outfits, and I do give Vex'ahlia her bow, her vestige of divergence. Ashton was also tricky because Ashton is made of stone and has a lot of gems. Jewels refract light. It actually turned out to be very easy. I find a good shorthand that I think I was happy with. I add some lights on the tree leaves, and then this is it. Here we go. We're getting into the hands. I end up making this creepy ass hand, and there was a point, you can see where it was, where I could have stopped. Like, I add the black ichor that's always on her hands. I feel like if I would have stopped there, it would have been completely fine. But I was like, no, I second guessed it. So I just got rid of the whole hand and then redid it a little more simple. Purple scars, and then I think this is the last thing I do is little Mister by giving him his little fiery thing. It's so cool that because he's a fire spirit, he can fly. And yeah, with that, this is the finished product. I loved this entire arc of Critical Role. It was so great. And I'm really glad that I set aside time to make this fan art because I like how it came out. I love the way I rendered everyone's faces. I think they all match how I imagined them in my head a lot. So that just makes me really happy. I'm so excited to see where the rest of the campaign goes from here. Do you want to see more Critical Role fan art? I can draw it for you. Let me know what moments or scenes from the campaign that you've enjoyed a lot that you would like to see me illustrate. And I don't know, if I like one of your suggestions, maybe I'll draw that. But yeah, as always, my name is Nathan. I upload every Wednesday and Saturday, and I'll see you soon. Bye!